Hello, everybody. It's a big pleasure to be with all our poultry school audience today. We have a very, very nice guest with us. We have Ine Kempen. She's the director from the Experimental Poultry Center in Antwerp. Antwerp. How you say
Antwerp,
it?
Antwerp,
Antwerp, Belgium.
Antwerp.
Antwerp.
Yes, yeah.
In Belgium, Inés, thank you very much for being with us. We start this
Mhm.
collaboration with Natalie,
Mhm.
maybe 7, 6, 8 months ago.
Yeah, I think so.
Like we were saying, talking, Inés, before starting this conversation in poultry school, we believe that in the poultry industry there is a lot of centers that needs more exposure
Mhm.
that need to share the value in another way, and that's part of our value in poultry school, connectivity. And that's what I reached to you guys, and we start doing some webinars, very successful. And our main goal is to share knowledge, and
Mhm.
also to you guys, expose what you are doing,
Yeah.
and maybe you can have some new connections. So Ine, why don't we start, that you can share with our audience, what's your background and how you get into the poultry industry and how you get into the direction of the center.
The business. Well, yeah. Well, first, thank you for the invitation and also the chance for the webinars. Also, my colleagues were very enthusiastic. But my background, well, I studied as an agricultural engineer. And one of the professors there was a professor in physiology, and he was so passionate about a specific sector, about the poultry sector, that he inspired me, I think, for this sector. Because before and also during my education, poultry was not the most popular topic or sector in our education, in our curriculum. But because of the passion of that professor, I think I got triggered by the sector. And then after I got my diploma, then I went to ILVO. ILVO is the Flemish Institute for Agricultural Research. And there I worked for the pig sector on data modeling, but it was more a desk study. And well, I didn't study agricultural engineering for sitting at my desk. So I wanted to be more involved in the sector itself. And
Okay.
then I started at the Experimental Poultry Center as a researcher, mainly on laying hens, but also a little bit on broilers. And then 4 years ago, I became the research manager, and 2 years ago, I became the director. And so that's a little bit my background.
Very, very, very interesting. It captured my attention that you did something in swine also, right? You have some background in pigs.
Well, 2 years I worked in research in pigs, but my love for the poultry sector is bigger, so I stayed in the poultry sector. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. So, Ine, why don't you tell us which are the main products or the main projects that your center is working right now?
Well, we are mostly focusing on research projects about ammonia emissions and about animal welfare. These are the biggest ones. But besides research projects, we also look for solutions with partners, with companies. If they have a problem, then we start looking together. We also give a sort of educational setting for people who want to learn about the poultry sector. We have our own stable, so we are actually a real farm. We have 30,000 laying hens and 42,000 broilers. So we also sell on to the retail. So we are our own products, our own farm. And then, of course, our fifth domain is that we're building up expertise in specific topics. If you want to know something about emissions, welfare, precision livestock farming, then we have a specific researcher who build up throughout the years expertise in that topic.
In your webpage, when I was doing some research, say that you are doing like a new house for 18,000 broilers, and
Yes,
that you were doing some ventilation with separate climate sections.
yeah. Well, we built that house in 2014, and it can house 18,000 broilers. And it's mainly, we can change the ventilation pattern if we want. And we also use it for a lot of emission measurements. So these are 8 different climate compartments where we can decide how to make the climate there in the compartment, but also we can measure from every compartment how much ammonia is coming out. And then ammonia together with the ventilation pattern, we can tell something about the emissions.
And how you choose or how you came to these two main subjects to work with? Is a
Yeah.
decision institutionally, or you guys are research? How you built the focus of interest in the investigation?
Yeah, well, we do have a lot of contact with people from the sector and also with farmers, and we also have an advisory board. And in this advisory board, it's every 2 years. We connect other researchers from other institutes, but also poultry farmers, and also the government is there. And so in this advisory board, we discuss which the topics or the questions that are living and that we have to address. So we have a sort of
So
advisory board.
obviously, animal welfare is a sensitive topic,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been involved a little bit here in the USA. And my thinking is that there is different kind of thinkings, thoughts, that there is not like a steady, let's say, line of animal welfare. And obviously, we know that Europe has been taking the lead in this subject. USA is trying to catching up, and Latin America is still behind, but coming.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think how this discussion will develop in the next years?
Yeah. Well, I know Europe is getting information on different fields. They want to get stricter in animal welfare, but on the other side, they also want to make sure that the impact on the environment will be lower. So I think Europe is searching there for what will be the biggest or the best thing to balance. And that's also what we believe. We see a farm as a sort of balancing scale. So you can have stronger regulations for animal welfare, but if it also makes your emissions higher or stronger, then you will get in trouble as a farmer. So on the long
Mhm.
term, this will be on the short term, this would have a big effect maybe on animal welfare, but on the long term, as an entrepreneur, the farm will get in trouble because you're not balancing all your aspects at farm level the right way. So I think in the next years, I think Europe will have to how can they implement animal welfare on a higher level, but also stay really competitive in a global developing world.
Another subject that is parallel to this is society in it,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that the poultry industry in sometimes spontaneously some producers, for no say countries, they are doing right management in animal welfare. But in some points, I think that in the industry uh, we have not been a good communicators. We have
Mm-hmm.
not tell the story to the community, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The statement that I always give is that I think that everybody of us, when we go to a family or friends reunion, in some point, somebody say, "Oh, you are working with chickens." Yes. So how about the hormones? You slaughter
Yeah.
the chickens very bad. You are doing very bad job.
Yeah.
But they can pick some bad things and some communicate that. But do you think like we like industry, we need to do a extra effort to communicate to the society that we are doing a good job?
Yeah, I agree with that. I really believe that because the distance between the consumer and the producer is just so big, and it's not going to change anymore. It's not like 50, 60 years ago. So I do believe that everyone in the chain has a responsibility to make sure that the storytelling about agriculture, that it is enhanced, and that you of course discuss about the negative points, but also stress out the positive points. And what we always here try to do is that agriculture is put something else somewhere there, but we also stress out that it is an economic sector. The purpose of agriculture is providing feed for the consumer, for you, for me.
Agree.
It's not a recreational sector. It's not a strange sector. It's not a farmer that's doing his own thing. It's providing food and is one of the most important economic sectors that there is in a country. That's something that we are stressing out, the connection between agriculture and the provision of food, the food that's in your store and that you are buying.
Do you believe that the new generations they are pushing for a different consuming habits, that they need more information, they can get more information quickly? So we need to change a little bit how to go to those guys that they are having the buying power, and they are more picky what they consume, so they put more attention if where the chicken is coming from, if it's cage free, whatever. I think
Yeah.
that right now with everybody having the information in the palm of the hand, put us in a
Mm-hmm.
position that we need to be transparent, but I think that the communication needs to improve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, also because the distance will get bigger. There are studies that people are buying more, where now we're buying fresh meat, especially young people are buying more half processed products. Those products that already meat that's already cooked or meat that's already in a sort of dish. So that makes a distance even more between the animal and what the consumer is eating. So I think that's a trend that we really have to focus on, not lose that young public. And also another trend is that, especially in Europe, we see that young people are more interested now in extra protein foods. They need more protein, where a few years ago it was more like carbohydrates. Now it's more protein. And well, animal nutrition, animal products can help with that trend, but we really, I think, make sure that they are convinced of that, for example, poultry meat can be a really useful thing in their diet of young people who want extra protein.
Do you think that we can add the sustainability discussion parallel to animal welfare, or sustainability is different?
Good question. Um, well, I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary because, like I said, you cannot ask a farmer to do much stricter rules and then have troubles with the emissions. So you cannot put that on the farmer's responsibility and say you have to solve it. It's your problem. We cannot do that as a society. So we need to have the discussion. And I do believe that there are animal welfare measures that can also enhance animal health and can enhance production. So I don't believe that every animal welfare measure competes with sustainability. But if you say, like for example, like we measured, you have to go from the fast grower chicken to the slow grower chicken. Yeah, well, sorry, that is something that is competing with sustainability. Yeah, of course.
And based on that, you know that poultry school, our passion is education. We talk about the marketing that you guys, for example, are doing research. You have the influence of the story and the environment of Europe in animal welfare. But how good we transmit that, because you are a center, limited, you are producing, let's say, generating research. How good the industry is to implement practical procedures and behaviors, put it education to the commercial industry, because you guys, you can generate some new value information,
Mm-hmm,
but how to translate that to the practical
mm-hmm,
world? For example, to companies like Tyson in the USA, or to the big companies in Europe, because you can
mm-hmm.
have the knowledge, but another thing is how to implement it.
That's a plan. Yeah, yeah,
How do you bridge that?
yeah. Well, we breach that throughout our own media, throughout our newsletter, but also our networking days. But what we think is really the key to getting something changed in the companies especially the farms. Well, in Flanders, you have a really, especially in poultry, you have a really good advisory system. So every breeder, but also every feed mill, they have their advisors as salesmen, but also technical advisors. And well, those are the guys who are picking up from other farms and from our research, and they are implementing it, giving it to their customers. So I think, I don't know the name in English, but it's the people who visit the farm, who advise the farm, the breeder companies, the feed mills, all those people who are visiting the farmer itself. Well, they carry a lot of knowledge, or they can transfer a lot of knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, what I see, because I come in my, let's say, professional life, I come from the equipment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna point you something. I came up,
Yeah.
well, my expertise in equipment is ventilation and building poultry houses, right?
Yeah.
I can build a house, dimension, feeders, ring cares, ventilation. I'm very skilled on that. But the thing is that when my companies that I worked for so many years, obviously we understood that selling a project was a commercial transaction, and
Yeah.
we were needed to provide support of education, but was a commercial transaction. But the thing with animal welfare is not like a product to sell.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
Is pure knowledge.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the interest of a company to expend money in an
Yeah.
advisor or implementing new waves, at the end of the day is going to be an advisor, is merely for consciousness, being aware that these need to be made. But because when it's a commercial transaction, it's very easy that if I sold a project
Yeah. You
in
give
in
advice
Belgium,
with it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will I, I will go every 2 months and I will do
Yeah.
follow up,
Yeah.
but it's implicit because you buy my product, I'm gonna give you education.
Yes.
But with
Yes.
with
Yeah.
animal welfare, there is no product to sell.
No, that's more difficult.
So
But
so so
mhm,
so so how is, besides doing research in animal welfare, how we in the industry we create awareness and consciousness to put resource in this way?
mhm, mhm. Well, I think in one of the projects that we're doing, it's called Omelette. I think Nathalie told about it. Well, there we actually work together with the poultry vets, because the veterinarians, because it's also a commercial service, but on the other hand, they are more like the guidance of a farm. So it is commercial, but especially with laying hens, laying hen welfare and laying hen health, it's closely linked to each other. So more and more we see that the poultry vets are not only asking, or not only looking at the health of the animals, but also at the welfare of the animals in a sort of preventive way. So in that project, we specifically work with the poultry vets in laying hens to enhance their animal welfare. But I do agree what you say. Yeah, we need more platforms, because, like you said also, if you need to advise about animal welfare, yeah, first you also need to measure. Huh? You need to measure before that you can advise. And how can you measure? And how can you do it? And how can you monitor? These are things that not a company will tell you, but that you really have to learn, like, for example, in initiatives like this.
Yeah, I think that's why we open these spaces, to have this discussion and just change ideas, because I think that we have a lot of things to do, and this mixing of the technology, mixing how to
Mhm.
transfer technology. Another thing, who is gonna be the ones transmitting the technology when
Mhm.
we're living in an age, in a time in history. That's what I think. We're living in a lack of attention present
Ah,
with the
yeah,
telephones, the social media.
yeah,
They are consuming our attention, and the
yeah,
new generations that are taking, let's say, management in the industry, people in their 30s, 34s, they have another chip. So we need
yeah,
to understand how to communicate with them. It's
Yeah.
more videos, it's more fast consuming information. So, and now we have the AI that is booming.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think the AI is gonna be moving all this way of creating information, creating programs, and sharing to be practical in the farms?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think where we are now in the sector is that data and data-driven decision making is getting more and more important, and AI will definitely help us there. We see also that the farmers who are now who will stay in the farmers who will stay in Flanders, they will get bigger. It will be less farmers, but they will get bigger. They will have different stables. They maybe will have personnel. And when you're working with personnel, and when you cannot do it all on your own, you need data, you need live monitoring, you need cameras, you need technique. And especially, I think, in data driven management, these AI solutions will boom in the next year.
Yeah, I think that what I see right now is the AI is booming in every area,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's consuming data. But at the end of the day, maybe that will be easier to know what to do. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, here is what come education. For example, in Latin America, we need to be realistic that, for example, in the farms in Latin America, the human power or the collaborators, maybe they are young and they may maybe barely finish high school because they are in the
Oh,
rural
yeah, yeah, yeah.
areas,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the people that is in the farm working with the big companies, sometimes they don't
Mm-hmm.
have so much education.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and then if we bring so many sophistication or different ways to handle the farms, there is a challenge. And then we have another challenge is the turnover. When you
Mm-hmm.
go to a farm the next year, maybe 50% of the people is gone. So you
It's
need to
gone. Yeah.
re-educate. So you need to
Yeah.
keep established programs that they are continuous.
Yeah.
And
Well.
and and and,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I say. If we let just the commercial company to do the education is good, but we need to create some new forms of education.
Yeah. And also, that's something that we worked on is not only the way of educating, but also like how, like you said, how will you provide the information? Will you give booklets of 30 pages? No, that's not going to work for people who have not studied that much or whose attention span is shorter. But we do have for some measurements really clear protocols. They're only one page, a one pager, a clear protocol. It should work. Like, for example, if you would visit us tomorrow and we tell you you're going to do that measurement in a stable, you should be able to because of the clear protocol. So I think what you said, how can we make, how can we grab their attention? I think not too much information, but really clear and in steps that they can really follow. And then train again, train again. Clear protocols should work for everyone with a high education or with a low education.
So in this spectrum, Aine, what do you think are the biggest challenge of the industry in the next 5 years?
I mostly can talk about Europe, so not
Yeah,
worldwide.
of course. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. In Europe and specifically in our regions, the permits will be the hardest thing. So, will a farmer get his permits? And permit, I mean the proof that you can stay farming. And this will have a big impact because farmers will have to reduce their ammonia and their smell, their odor, by so much. And well, as an entrepreneur, you can have a lot of research, you can have a lot of money, you can have a lot of time, but if you're not secure about your permits, about if you can produce on the long term, if you're not sure that you can go on farming for 20 years as a farmer, you have nothing then. eh? So this insecurity will be here until 2030, the hardest thing to crack. Yeah.
So how about health issues?
Well, health issues, especially in Europe also, it's of course the bird flu, but also antibiotica use. We see that antibiotica use went up a little bit again. We need to get it down again, and especially with the broilers, we have to switch more to a preventive way of working. Yeah. And then for animal welfare, well, that's a big question. Animal welfare, how can we combine animal welfare with all those other domains, with health that's getting stricter and with emissions that's getting stricter? How can animal welfare fit there? Yeah. Another thing maybe that's in Europe will also be of importance the next year is that, well, if you look at the CO2 impacts of the poultry sector, then, well, about 80% is caused by the feed. And of that 80% that's caused by the feed,
Everywhere.
I think 60% is caused by soy. So the soy dependency of our sector is something also that that I know feed mills have to work with the next years. We are looking at alternatives. We are looking at alternative proteins, but soy is price quality is such a good product that I don't think next year we will have the solution for that. Yeah.
So it's something that yeah, we need. There are so many countries, not just in Europe, the dependency of the grains,
Yeah.
and there are I guess obviously Belgium and Europe, so many Europes, they need external imports so many times.
Of course, yeah, yeah. We cannot provide it our own in Belgium, eh? Maybe on European level, but we cannot be self-sufficient in Flanders for the feed that we use for the animals. We cannot produce it our own, so we have to import. Yeah.
So these two main subject is something that you will be working animal welfare and gas emissions is something steady that you will work for the how many years in at front?
From now on, well, I think the next 5 years, specifically until 2030, we will work on that. Yeah. Another thing what we will work on is that we have big plans here. So two of our stables are also not ammonia free. So we have to change them, and we are planning to build new stables for the broilers and a smaller test stable for the laying hens. So besides the research, we will spend also the next years trying to build new facilities.
In your perception, Ine, again, because poultry school is education platforms, and with your experience, we go to many shows in Europe, BIB, and there is like a scientific,
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah,
say, a
yeah.
scientific forums. Also, commercial companies they provide education. Obviously, needs to be a transaction involved. If you are not
Mm-hmm.
my customer, I cannot educate you. Some companies are open. I need to say that
Mm-hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
companies are very open, and then we have the I cannot see more than those two channels. So what do you think they may be good channels of education to the industry? Online, do more presential courses in with farmers, with your
Mm-hmm.
experience, what works and what doesn't work? Because at the end of the day, the end user is the farmer. That now that you and I are talking, there are
Mm-hmm.
farmers all over the world in front of the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
how we get to education to those people, the really
Mm-hmm.
people that needs the education? What systems do you think are the more efficient?
Well, in one of the projects we were very successful. It's now running still, and we called it Tour de Boer. It was called, and Tour de Boer means in Dutch a tour of the farmer. And what we did there is that we went to a farm where they had a new innovation, and we invited only other farmers, so no advisors or no journalists, and we made a sort of education day, but then at another farm by farmers, starting with the farmer who had the innovation, starting to tell his experience. How did I use it? Is it working or not? Was it worth the money? To have a really honest conversation. And that's something that was really successful. It was a sort of tour of farmers by farmers and only for farmers. and not with people from the government or people from other commercial people. Farmers were there on their own in their group, and then they were also more freely to really tell their experience. So that's a concept that you cannot always do because biosecurity was not always helping. But I know that that's a concept that's working.
Yeah, biosecurity
And
is a big issue. Mhm.
yeah. So here too, but there can always be an alternative. We also went to a farmer when we know he had a little conference room, and that we didn't go into the stable, but he showed us some movies of the stable, and that was also enough to start a conversation. So I think that's one way of making sure that you get the right information to the right people, and that combined, of course, with online initiatives, because the younger farmers, they don't go every week to a meeting anymore. They're really picking out everything. And if they can follow something online, then they're perfectly happy with it, I think.
So talking about biosecurity, do you think that we have the good tools or the right tools to provide that knowledge and that education to the industry, or is keep
Yeah, I think
developing
so.
more?
I think there's a lot of experience with biosecurity, but it only works if you use it and apply it in a sort of discipline. It's not that hard to have a good biosecurity. It's not that complicated, but you have to do it every day, every hour
Yeah,
of the
it's more
day.
like
Stay
making
disciplined.
sure that the people
Yeah,
do what they need to
yeah.
do.
So it's discipline, and it's investing in materials to do that discipline. But then I think we have a lot of tools that can help everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the industry we have so many focus that we need to work together. And
Yeah.
like I say at the beginning, I think that you guys, Europe, you have been going in some direction. And my belief and part of doing this is to merge opinions, discussions, and try
Mhm.
to put value. Maybe in your center, you are doing something different that maybe apply in another country or in another institution, and vice
Mhm.
versa, right? Maybe some other people are doing another thing. So,
And
go
also
ahead.
lessons learned. You don't, another country doesn't have to make the mistakes that we made again. It's lessons
Exactly.
learned. So you don't have to put twice the money in research if you know that someone else did it and you can apply it to that to your sector. Sometimes regions and countries are so different that you have to do it again, but not always. So lessons learned, I think, is really, really important. Yeah. Specifically, if you see at the laying hen sector, I think in the United States, more and more, I don't know how it is now, but there was a sort of transferring to more aviary housing systems. Well, in Europe, there's so much experience. You don't have to do it all again. You don't have to make the same mistakes again. Yeah.
Yeah, we almost has well, we have half hour been talking. We have a couple of minutes more that I told you.
Yeah.
So, Ine, this is a question that I didn't ask you before. Is what's the legacy, Ine, that you will like to give to the center? What make you happy?
Oh,
That
yeah. ah, that's
was a tough question. That's a tough question.
yeah, that's a tough
Come
question.
on, Ine.
Yeah, yeah. But I do understand the question. I do know why you're asking me that.
I know
Mm,
why I'm asking you that because the leadership is
yeah,
is important part of in this case of a center,
yeah,
and I believe in purpose and vision.
yeah,
The purpose that you have and the vision that you have, and at the end of the
yeah,
day, any business, any company, any center is built by human beings.
yeah. True. Yeah,
Where is built by human beings, you, me. So the thing is that I love to put this question in the table to my to the people that I
yeah.
talk, and
I
always
do
sometimes it's
understand.
the same direction. Wow,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
at the end of the day,
yeah, yeah,
there is something in you that maybe should help the industry. Maybe
yeah,
do one research that can change some protocols with the government, But at the end of the day, it's more like how I feel and how I connect with the center to provide value.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe I will put the question in another way. What's the value that you personally you think you have been adding to the center? Your leadership
Yeah.
or your vision or putting together
Yeah.
people. What is your magic value? I mean,
My magic value. Well, I think I can say that the last years that I brought more the term entrepreneurship to our company. So not thinking in farmers or not thinking in questions or solutions, but looking at farmers as entrepreneurs and helping them in their entrepreneurship. And I think we did a really good job here. That we can have a 360 view of all those aspects an entrepreneur has to deal with, and I think that's something that we built up the last 3-4 years, and that's something we have to grow in. And then another thing, maybe personal, doesn't really is for the sector, but I think one of another value was that I think that my colleagues here like the group, like the institute,
that's
and
exactly.
besides the work, I think we created an environment where people love working, but also where you have a good balance between your private time and your working time, which is also important. So I think the people here are really motivated, and that's what's giving me energy too, of course.
Like a personal belief, I think that when you add happiness, joyfulness, and like
Yeah,
a good environment in your team, things flow better.
yeah, yeah.
When
I
when the
also
team
believe that.
is enjoying, laughing,
Yeah,
or in a
yeah,
in a respect way, it's like a bonding.
yeah, yeah,
And breaking some protocol sometimes, but flowing.
yeah, yeah,
But in some points, the leaders needs to provide that safe space
yeah. A
that
safe environment. Yeah,
colleagues can
yeah,
flow, express
yeah,
their value, but like in a joyful way, like
yeah,
happiness. It's like
yeah, yeah,
enjoying going to work, like
yeah,
instead, oh, come on, I need to go to the center
yeah.
again.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And also, it doesn't always have to be positive, because there are
Exactly.
discussions also, but you create an environment where you can discuss and where you know, if I will point this out, I will be respected for my opinion, although my colleagues think otherwise. Yeah, it's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have a few minutes more. In actually 4 minutes we have. So anything else that you want to share to our audience about your center that you think
Hmm.
is needed to share? Anything, any program, or where to find you, or anything else that you would like to share?
Yeah, well, besides the projects that you saw in the other webinars, I really want to point out that we really like working with companies and trying to find innovative solutions. So it's not only monitoring that we do, we really want to find solutions and collaborate with partners, because we also learn a lot from R&D from other companies. So that's something that we're known of. We also have a broad network with companies, so we really like working with them. You can contact me or my colleagues that you saw, Nathalie, Tom, and Niels, of course, in any way, mail or telephone. So we're really hoping that also with this webinar, we can get more contacts. Yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, like I say before, maybe we were speaking this before doing this recording, is that our main goal is put you in the radar, in the map.
Yeah.
Poultry school is just a channel of communication, but
Yeah.
we connect people. We connect your value with an audience. So also I expect, and one of the main intentions is that you get contacts, is that when we share this information, you get at least one contact that can provide value in a new collaboration. So Ine, thank
Yeah.
you very much for the time. Thank you very much
You
for
too.
sharing, and we're looking forward for more collaborations. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Me too. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.